wake up at 3 in the morning and your heart is racing. There is no reason for it, no nightmare you can remember, no sound that startled you awake. Just this feeling, this heavy, suffocating feeling that something is wrong, that you are not enough, that you have failed in ways you cannot even name. You lie there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, and your mind starts that familiar loop. Every mistake you have ever made, every opportunity you missed, every moment you wish you could take back. The weight of it presses down on your chest until breathing feels like work, until getting through tomorrow feels impossible. And the worst part, you look fine, you get up, you go through the motions, you smile when you are supposed to smile. You answer when people ask if you are okay, you function, but inside there is this constant battle, this exhausting performance of being a person who has it together, when the truth is, you feel like you are barely holding on. You feel like everyone else got some manual for life that you never received, like everyone else knows how to be happy, how to be confident, how to just exist without this constant questioning, this relentless self-doubt that follows you everywhere. And you wonder, in those quiet moments when you are alone with your thoughts, you wonder if you are broken, if something fundamental inside you is damaged beyond repair, if this heaviness, this struggle, this feeling of being lost in your own life is just who you are now. You are not alone in this, not even close. What you are feeling right now, what keeps you up at night, what makes ordinary days feel like climbing mountains, it is something millions of people experience, but few talk about. And here is what matters. Here is what I need you to understand. The fact that you are still here, still trying, still searching for answers, still watching this video, hoping for some clarity, that tells me something profound about you. It tells me you have overcome more than you realize. It tells me you have survived things that would have broken someone else. It tells me you have a strength you do not even recognize because you are too busy criticizing yourself for not being stronger. What if I told you that the very things you see as weaknesses, the struggles you hide, the pain you carry, what if those are actually evidence of psychological resilience that most people never develop? What if your suffering has been shaping you in ways you cannot see yet? Sigmund Freud spent his entire career studying the human mind, and one of his most profound discoveries was this: the psyche does not break randomly. It adapts, it protects, it survives. And the mechanisms it uses to keep you functional, to keep you alive when everything inside you wants to shut down, those mechanisms leave marks. They leave signs. And today, we are going to explore 6 of those signs. 6 psychological indicators that you have endured more, overcome more, processed more psychological complexity than you give yourself credit for. This is not about inspiration. This is not about toxic positivity or pretending pain does not exist. This is about understanding the architecture of your own mind. This is about seeing yourself clearly, perhaps for the first time, and recognizing that your struggles have not been pointless. They have been transformative. So let's talk about what Freud would see when he looked at someone like you, someone who has fought battles no one else knows about, someone who has survived their own mind. The first sign is something Freud would immediately recognize. It is your heightened self-awareness. You know that voice in your head that never stops analyzing? That constant internal dialogue that questions everything you do, everything you say, everything you feel. Most people experience that as torture, and it is. It absolutely is exhausting. But here is what Freud understood that most people miss. That relentless self-examination, that ability to observe yourself from the outside, to catch yourself in patterns, to notice when you are repeating behaviors, that is not a flaw. That is consciousness operating at a level most people never reach. Freud talked about the conscious, pre-conscious, and unconscious mind. Most people live almost entirely in their unconscious. They react. They do not reflect. They repeat the same patterns their entire lives and never once ask why. But you have been forced into consciousness. Your pain, your struggles, your trauma, whatever you have been through, it pushed you out of the comfortable fog that most people live in. It made you wake up. And yes, waking up hurts. Yes, being aware of your own dysfunction, your own contradictions, your own wounds, that is painful. But it is also rare. It is also valuable. It is also the first requirement for any real psychological growth. Think about it this way. When you have been through something that breaks you down, when you have had to rebuild yourself piece by piece, you cannot help but become intimate with your own mental machinery. You see the gears turning. You notice when something is not working right. You catch yourself falling into old patterns before you fully commit to them. That is not weakness. That is psychological sophistication. Freud would look at you and see someone who has done the hardest work there is. The work of turning the light of consciousness onto yourself, even when what you see there is uncomfortable, even when what you discover is painful. The second sign is your relationship with emotional pain. You know how to sit with discomfort in ways that other people cannot. When something hurts, when anxiety rises, when sadness hits, you do not immediately run from it. You have learned, maybe not by choice, maybe through sheer necessity. You have learned that emotions do not destroy you. They move through you. Freud introduced the idea of defense mechanisms, and he was fascinated by how the psyche protects itself from overwhelming feelings. Repression, denial, projection. These are all ways the mind keeps painful truths buried. And here is the thing. Most people use these defenses their entire lives without ever knowing it. They push down feelings they cannot handle. They avoid situations that might make them uncomfortable. They construct elaborate stories to avoid facing certain truths about themselves. But when you have been through real psychological difficulty, when you have been forced to confront things that scared you, that hurt you, that challenged everything you believed about yourself, you cannot hide anymore. The defenses stop working, and at first that feels like falling apart. At first it feels like you are losing control. But what is actually happening is that you are developing the capacity to experience your emotional life directly, without the buffer, without the shield. And that is terrifying, but it is also liberating. Because once you know that sadness will not kill you, that anxiety will eventually pass, that even the darkest emotional states are temporary, you stop being so afraid. You stop organizing your entire life around avoiding discomfort. You become more real, more present, more alive. If you are watching this and recognizing yourself in what I am describing, if these ideas are resonating with something deep inside you, leave a like on this video. Not for me, for yourself. As a marker, as a reminder that you stopped scrolling, you paid attention, you let yourself be seen in this moment of understanding. Let me pause here for a moment because I need to ask you something that matters. Have you ever felt like you are living two lives at once? The one everyone sees, where you smile and function and pretend everything is fine, and the one inside your head, where you are struggling, confused, doubting every choice you make. That split, that exhausting performance of being okay when you are not, it is something Freud understood deeply. And I want you to know something. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are human. And what you are feeling right now, this exact struggle you are carrying, someone else watching this video is feeling it too. They are sitting there thinking they are the only one, just like you might be thinking right now. So I am going to ask you to do something that might feel vulnerable, but it is important. Go down to the comments right now and type this exact phrase. I feel this. Just those 3 words. I feel this. You do not need to explain. You do not need to write your whole story. Just let those words be your voice today. Because when you do that, something powerful happens. The person scrolling through these comments, the one who feels completely alone in their pain, they are going to see your comment. And for the first time in maybe days, weeks, or months, they are going to realize they are not alone either. Your 3 words might be the thing that helps them breathe a little easier tonight. This is not just about engagement. This is about connection. This is about breaking the silence that keeps us isolated in our suffering. Freud built his entire life's work on one simple truth. We heal when we speak what has been hidden. So speak it now. Go to the comments, type I feel this, and know that by doing so, you are not just helping yourself. You are helping every single person who needs to know that what they feel is real, is valid, and is shared. Do it now, I will wait. The 3rd sign is your complicated relationship with success. You achieve things, you accomplish goals, but the satisfaction never feels quite right, does it? You reach a milestone you have been working toward, and instead of celebrating, you immediately think about the next thing, or you downplay what you did, or you feel like an imposter who somehow tricked everyone into thinking you are competent. Freud would recognize this immediately. He would see it as evidence of a powerful superego, that internal critic, that voice of judgment that formed early in your life. The superego is the part of your psyche that holds all the rules, all the shoulds, all the expectations you internalized from parents, from culture, from authority figures. And when you have been through difficult experiences, especially in childhood, the superego often becomes tyrannical. It sets impossible standards. It punishes you for normal human limitations. It tells you that nothing you do is ever enough. Now, most people think this is just low self-esteem. But Freud understood it differently. He saw the superego as evidence of moral and psychological development. The fact that you have such a strong internal judge means you care deeply about being good, about doing right, about living up to something. The problem is not that you have a superego. The problem is that it has become too harsh, too demanding, too unforgiving. And why did it become that way? Because at some point in your life, probably early on, you learned that being perfect was the only way to be safe. You learned that making mistakes led to pain, to rejection, to loss. So you built this internal system that tries to catch every potential error before it happens. You became your own harshest critic because you thought that was the only way to protect yourself. But here is what you need to understand. The very fact that you struggle with this, the very fact that you cannot just relax and accept yourself, that is evidence of a psyche that has been shaped by complexity. You are not simple. You are not shallow. You have depth. You have layers. You have an inner world that is rich and complicated and often at war with itself. And that is not a curse. That is the raw material of wisdom. That is the foundation for real self-understanding. You just need to learn how to work with your superego instead of being dominated by it. The fourth sign is your capacity for empathy. You feel other people's pain almost like it is your own. You walk into a room and you can sense the emotional temperature immediately. Someone is upset and you know it before they say a word. Someone is pretending to be fine and you see right through it. This is not magic. This is not some spiritual gift. This is psychological attunement that develops when you have had to become hypervigilant to emotional signals. Freud talked about this in the context of the unconscious. He believed that much of human communication happens below the level of conscious awareness. We pick up on micro-expressions, on tone of voice, on body language, and we process that information without even knowing we are doing it. But most people are not paying that much attention. They are too absorbed in their own internal world. They miss the subtle cues. They do not notice when someone is struggling, but you do. Why? Because at some point in your life, survival depended on it. Maybe you grew up in a household where you had to monitor the moods of adults to stay safe. Maybe you learned that paying close attention to other people's emotional states was the only way to avoid conflict, to avoid pain, to avoid being hurt. So you developed this skill. You became an expert at reading people. And now it is just how you move through the world. You cannot turn it off. And sometimes that is exhausting. Sometimes you wish you could just be oblivious like everyone else seems to be. But here is the truth. Your empathy, your ability to feel with and for other people, that is one of the most valuable psychological capacities a human being can have. It is what makes deep connection possible. It is what makes real intimacy possible. It is what allows you to understand people at a level that goes beyond words. Yes, it comes from pain. Yes, it was born out of necessity, but it is still a gift. And the world needs more people who can feel what others feel, who can see what others miss, who can hold space for pain without turning away. The fifth sign is your awareness of patterns. You notice when you are repeating behaviors. You see when you are attracted to the same type of person over and over. Even when that type is bad for you, you catch yourself falling into familiar dynamics in relationships, in work, in how you treat yourself. And this drives you crazy because you see it happening, but you feel powerless to stop it. Freud called this repetition compulsion. He noticed that people tend to recreate situations from their past, especially painful ones, even when they consciously want something different. And he asked the question, why would someone do that? Why would you repeat patterns that hurt you? His answer was profound. The unconscious mind is not trying to hurt you. It is trying to heal you. It is bringing you back to the original wound, over and over, giving you chances to resolve it, to do it differently this time, to finally get the outcome you needed back then. But because this process is unconscious, you do not understand what is happening. You just feel stuck. You just feel frustrated. You just wonder why you keep making the same mistakes. But the fact that you are aware of this, the fact that you can see your patterns, that is extraordinary. Most people are completely blind to their repetition compulsion. They live out the same script their entire lives and never once realize they are following a pattern. But you see it. You are conscious of it. And that means you are already halfway to changing it. Because the first step in breaking a pattern is recognizing that it exists. The second step is understanding where it comes from. And the third step is choosing differently, even when every fiber of your being wants to fall back into what is familiar. You are doing this work right now, by watching this, by thinking about this, by being willing to look at yourself honestly. You already know this, but we're not ready to understand ourselves alone. The human mind is vast, complex, and often frightening to explore without guidance. If this content is helping you see yourself more clearly, if these insights about Freud's work are bringing light to parts of yourself you've kept hidden, then consider subscribing to this channel. This is not just another psychology channel. This is a space where we explore the depths of human nature together, where we take the most profound concepts from psychoanalysis and make them accessible, practical, and deeply personal. Every video here is designed to help you understand not just theory, but yourself, your patterns, your fears, your desires, the invisible forces that have been shaping your choices without your awareness. When you subscribe, you are making a commitment to yourself. You are saying that you are ready to look deeper, to understand more, to stop running from the truth of who you are. And I promise you this, I will be here every week, bringing you insights that matter, explanations that actually make sense, and perspectives that can genuinely change how you see yourself and the world around you. This journey of self-understanding is not easy. Freud knew this. He spent his entire life mapping the human psyche precisely because he understood how lost we can feel inside our own minds. But you do not have to walk this path alone. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, become part of a community of people who have decided that understanding themselves is worth the discomfort, worth the effort, worth the time. Because at the end of the day, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. And that relationship deserves your attention, your curiosity, and your courage. So subscribe now and let's continue this exploration together. Your future self will thank you for taking this step today. The sixth sign is perhaps the most subtle but also the most powerful. It is your relationship with meaning. You cannot settle for surface-level explanations anymore. You cannot just accept easy answers. When someone tells you to think positive or just get over it or it could be worse, something in you rejects that. Not because you want to be difficult, not because you enjoy being miserable, but because you know, on a deep intuitive level, that real healing does not come from denying complexity. It comes from facing it. Freud believed that the unconscious mind holds truths we are not ready to face. Dreams, slips of the tongue, seemingly random thoughts. He saw all of these as messages from the deeper parts of ourselves, trying to communicate something important. And when you have been through psychological struggle, when you have had to wrestle with your own darkness, you become attuned to these deeper layers. You start to understand that everything means something, that nothing is random, that your anxiety is not just chemical, it is information. Your sadness is not just a mood disorder, it is a signal. Your anger is not just a character flaw, it is energy that has been misdirected. You start to see your symptoms as symbols, as the psyche's way of speaking when words are not enough. And this changes everything. Because once you understand that your struggles have meaning, once you stop seeing yourself as broken and start seeing yourself as someone whose psyche is trying to communicate, trying to heal, trying to integrate, you can work with yourself instead of against yourself. You can ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? What is this pattern trying to show me? What part of me needs attention right now? This is the essence of psychoanalysis. This is what Freud spent his life teaching, that we are not random, that our symptoms are not enemies, that the unconscious is not trying to sabotage us, it is trying to save us. So where does that leave you? Right here, right now, with a choice. You can continue to see yourself as someone who is struggling, someone who is not enough, someone who needs to be fixed. Or you can start to see yourself as someone who has already overcome more than most people will face in a lifetime. Someone whose psyche has been working tirelessly, often without your conscious awareness, to keep you functional, to keep you alive, to give you chances to heal. The signs we have talked about today, the self-awareness, the emotional capacity, the complicated relationship with success, the deep empathy, the pattern recognition, the search for meaning. These are not symptoms of weakness. They are evidence of a psyche that has been through fire and survived. They are the marks of someone who has done the hardest psychological work there is. The work of staying conscious when it would be easier to shut down. The work of feeling when it would be safer to go numb. The work of looking at yourself honestly when it would be more comfortable to blame everyone else. Freud knew that this work is lonely. He knew that it requires courage that most people never develop. He knew that the path to self-understanding is not pleasant, not easy, not something you would choose if you had any other option. But he also knew that it is the only path that leads to real freedom, the only path that allows you to stop being controlled by forces you do not understand, the only path that lets you become the author of your own life instead of a character in a script someone else wrote. You are already on this path. You did not choose it. It chose you, but you are on it. And every step you take, even when it feels like you are going backwards, even when it feels like you are lost, you are moving toward something, toward integration, toward wholeness. toward a version of yourself that can hold all of your complexity without falling apart. So I want to ask you something as we close. What would change if you stopped waiting to be fixed? What would change if you accepted that you are not broken, just unfinished? What would change if you saw your struggles not as evidence of failure, but as evidence of a psyche that refuses to give up on you? Sit with that question. Let it work on you. And if this video has given you something, if it has helped you see yourself differently, even for a moment, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Someone who is still carrying the weight alone. Someone who thinks they are the only one struggling. Someone who needs to know that their pain has not been pointless. You know who that person is. Send it to them and tell them, you are not alone. We are figuring this out together. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for refusing to settle for easy answers. The world needs more people like you. People who are willing to look deeper, to feel more, to question everything. Keep going. You are closer than you think.